Hello and welcome to another edition of GreenFleet Talks. My name is Kate Armitage and I'm hosting our discussion today, and I'm delighted to be joined by Andreas Barron, who is Chief ESG Officer at Alphabet. Andreas, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Hi Kate, it's a pleasure for me too.
Thanks very much for agreeing to come on GreenFleet Talks. We haven't spoken to Alphabet for a while, so it's great to hear a little bit more about what you're up to. But also, we don't usually get guests from Munich, so I'm delighted that you've joined us. Andreas, can you tell us a little bit more about your role as Chief ESG Officer?
Absolutely, Kate, absolutely. So basically, I'm the Chief ESG Officer of Alphabet International. Alphabet, as you might know, is headquartered based in Munich, but we have facilities all over Europe, basically. And this new role was implemented last year in July. So the role of a dedicated ESG officer is rather new for Alphabet. And we introduced this role basically because we see that our customers, they want to talk also about sustainability topics. They want to get in touch with us, and for us, we believe that we really need this kind of function to structure everything around sustainability a bit more than in the past. The past 12 months have been very intense for us, for me, but also a lot of fun.
Great. It's nice. It's nice actually to go into a brand new role, isn't it? Because you can make it your own in many respects.
Absolutely.
And Alphabet isn't the only company doing that, because we've seen that coming through in your fleet monitor. But we will talk about that shortly. Just to kind of kick off the conversation, then, Andreas. From your perspective, what are the key challenges facing European fleet operators when it comes to scaling up electric vehicle adoption?
Basically, I would like to start with why actually all or most of the fleet operators want to electrify their fleets. They want to electrify their fleets because they want to lower their CO2 emissions, obviously, right? That is the overall target. They have this kind of target, but they also need to get a better understanding still of this new technology, right? You mentioned it, there is a lot of uncertainty still there for the fleet operators when we talk about charging infrastructure, public charging infrastructure at drivers' homes. But also uncertainty when we talk about policies, for example, right? So we see in a lot of European markets that there have been promotions for electric vehicles. They now are taking back here and there. So there's uncertainty in the market, and this is also what we see when we talk with our customers about this, which holds them a bit back to scale, really, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, certainly in the UK, there aren't many fleets who haven't begun this journey. But the real challenge now is that scaling up, and as you've said, the charging infrastructure, those drivers who can't charge at home overnight, for example, kind of just make it all a little bit more challenging operationally. But if we go back to the fleets who haven't actually begun that journey yet, and who are still potentially considering other ways of reducing their emissions, but ultimately haven't begun that electrification journey, what advice would you have for them?
I'd say they should start with the target. So why do they actually want to electrify? Obviously, I see it also from my role for lowering CO2, but it could be also to be a more attractive employer for the drivers, for example, right? It could also be cost topics. So I think they really have to answer the why. Why do they want to do this? And if they can answer the why, they should get into the data and should understand their fleet and understand which is maybe the right vehicle for them. You know, I mean, talking about electric vehicles, we have also fast technology steps, right? The range of the electric vehicles is growing, but maybe there are areas where you don't need this kind of big range, which also comes to a price, right? I would strongly recommend to basically have a close look to what is the target, what is also the timing for the target, what is my fleet actually looking right now, and then start in having maybe, I mean, a pilot. We have seen so many pilots in the past, you know. I think we are a bit over this, but nevertheless, there are still for the drivers. We still see a lot of drivers who have never sitting in
Yeah.
an electric vehicle, and there is still uncertainty also for the drivers. So, if you as a fleet operator want to be successful, you need to take them by the hand. You know, you need to support them, you need to make it easy for them, and you also have to explain the why, right? You have to explain the why we should now switch to an electric vehicle or plug-in hybrid, whatever suits for the company.
I mean, certainly putting the driver front and center is really important, and that asking the question why is compelling. You also touched on the importance of the data, but also the fact that the technology is evolving very quickly. So I would kind of add into this that if you have looked at electric vehicles in the past, or even if you trialed an electric vehicle maybe 8 or 10 years ago, go back to that business case, have another look, revise the numbers, try another vehicle, because it's moved on so much.
Exactly,
That a lot of the things that may be perceived as barriers aren't quite as challenging as they were once, even when it comes to the infrastructure.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, the infrastructure across Europe is not in every market, in every country the same, right? We have markets where the infrastructure is very mature, like Netherlands. We have markets like Germany, obviously, also where we have, from my experience, also being a BEV driver for several years, I can cover all my rides with an electric vehicle because we have a good fast charging infrastructure. But obviously, this is not the case in all of the markets, right? So also, if you are an international company, you have a fleet across more markets. You also have different policies in this individual market, and you need to take this into consideration, right?
Yeah, definitely.
This is also an effort. This is an effort for the fleet operator, not only for the fleet operator, also for controlling, for HR, for everyone, you know. So that's why it's also very important to have a buy-in from the management level, not only the fleet operator, but also if you want to invest in charging infrastructure at your facilities. This will cost some money, and you need to have the buy-in there from the management. Otherwise, it will not be successful, right? So these are the topics which you need to take into consideration. And coming back to sustainability, if you are going to electric vehicles, you should also consider charging them with green energy. You know, this is also, I mean, driving a BEV is the first step, but then ensuring that most of the electricity you are putting in the vehicle is from a real renewable energies is the second most important topic. And also
It's a really great point.
Facility management is in charge of this, right? In the past, the fleet manager was not in charge of these kind of topics. So that's why I really believe, and we see this also in discussions with customers, the customers where there is the buy-in from the whole management, where everyone sits at one table, has an understanding of the target, of the why, and of the how they want to do it, have a plan. These are successful.
Yeah, great. And your point about the electricity is a great one. And it doesn't really make sense to introduce dozens or hundreds of electric vehicles onto your fleet and then be putting electricity with a high carbon intensity into the vehicles.
Exactly. Then you're missing the last step.
Yeah. Great. Okay. So, Andreas, I mentioned earlier your latest European Fleet Emission Monitor, which was published earlier this year, and it's a great read. So, I would encourage anyone who is involved in this area to have a look. Fascinating to compare the different countries, also, and the differences in thinking, although the overall trends are still very much evident. But it focuses on emissions, and it talks about fleets being able to quantify their CO2 emissions. And that's an area that still seems to be quite weak. Can you kind of tell me a little bit more about the monitor and what that means for you?
As I come back to the target of lowering CO2 emission in your fleet, right? And in a lot of companies, the fleet is one of the highest CO2 emitter. So you as a company, most of the companies, they have a CO2 target, and then also counts for the fleet, right? And we believe, and we see this with the European Fleet Emission Monitor, that most of the companies have these kind of targets, but they are somehow lacking still how to quantify the numbers behind this, right? And that's what we wanted to show with the fleet emission monitor, that 30% of the customers are saying, yes, the CO2 reduction is the most important topic for us right now. But still, we are not really using data to come to our targets, which we got from the sustainability department or from our management, right? And that's what's the fleet emission monitor shows. It shows the importance, but also the lack of technology which has been used from the fleet decision makers. And I can understand them, because that was not their job in the past. That's new, right? That's new for most of the fleet operators, but also new for most of the companies. And that's why we would like to support them there, right? We would not only like to give them electric vehicle or plug-in hybrid vehicle, but also show them with tools what's the difference of charging this vehicle with green electricity or with gray electricity, right? And you need to give that knowledge to the fleet operators, right? And talking about knowledge also here, obviously we're also asking our customers there, do you feel well informed when we talk about electrification? And still a fairly high amount of fleet decision makers say no, they don't feel well informed, right? And this could also be about the fast increasing of technology there, right? If there is every second year a new range and new charging infrastructure, you don't know in what to invest, you don't know, and that is also the uncertainty which is there. But you can only overcome this if you qualify yourself, if you get the knowledge from external partners, from the OEMs, from everywhere. I believe that there is a lot of knowledge out in the world. You just have to find the right way to observe it for your company, right? And
and find a trustworthy source, because of course we know that there are untrustworthy sources, which is part of the challenge here. And of course, taking Alphabet as an example, introducing a new role, a role that where someone is primarily responsible for sustainability, taking on that ESG role, again would be a big help, because it pulls together all the different parts of the business put in the same direction.
Yeah, exactly. This is why I said this new function is also for internal perspectives very important, right? I'm in constantly talks with the different departments, explaining them also the why here sometimes, right? But also then with our customers, because also they, we are in this together, right? We are on the world together, and we need to solve this also together. So we should reach out and then basically try to make the world a little bit better place as far as we can. And we basically also decided that one person is not enough for this. So we've introduced an ESG officer in all European markets, right? So we have now in all European markets one dedicated person within Alphabet who is responsible for sustainability, right? And this is not only environmental, also social topics are included in there, because this is also something we should not neglect. And as you said, it's been great 12 months, and I see that we can really have an impact. We have an impact, right? In trying to support our customers in also having a more sustainable fleet. This is the one topic, but also becoming more sustainable for ourselves. So this is a great achievement, but still also obviously a good way to go.
Great. It's brilliant. It really is. And Andreas, it would be remiss of me. Alphabet is a leasing company, so it would be remiss of me to get through this whole discussion without me asking how, let's just reiterate how the important role that leasing and rental have in this de-risking the electrification of transport.
Well, obviously, a great share of new vehicles within the European continent comes from leasing or rental business, right? And I think we can support in sharing the knowledge. We can support in ramping up this new technology with our customer base. And also, when talking about rental, obviously, maybe if you are uncertain, if you are leasing a vehicle, you will not have it for 10 years, normally. So the leasing times are, we all know this, a bit lower than this. So you could try it and understand if this is the right technology for you right now, or you need to shift to another topic. And also there, I would encourage companies to make use of this, to maybe have a certain share of rental fleets available for test drives, so that specifically the uncertain drivers, that they can make their decision based on what they've used the vehicle. You have to use it for 1 week, and then so, but you don't have to buy it for a couple of years. And I think this is what is also a strength of the leasing and rental business, where we can make the way for this new technology a bit easier, basically.
Yeah, for sure. Try before you buy.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good claim. Maybe we take this.
Yeah, great. Well, Andreas, thank you very much for your insight today. It's been a pleasure to meet you and great talking to you.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you for having me.
And thank you, of course, to Alphabet for joining GreenFleet Talks. And thank you for watching. Please tune in to GreenFleet Television again soon.